Yo, ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Alright, so today basically what I wanted to do is go ahead and do a new release of Solos. It's going to be Solos 02.01. Otherwise, basically, I just call it Solos Revision 2. And in fact, I think I'm just going to call it right now Solos Revision 2 to just, make it a little bit easier. But at this time, I wanted to go through and just show you the modifications and changes I have done. And before we actually do proceed to log in and all that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and pull up the changes list here and just show you guys what I've done so far. So it's going to pop up in a second here. And these are all the changes that I've had. So additions, we indicate a new nitrogen menu entry to the panel. We've also changed the menu panel instead of being the standard XFCE menu to do whisker menu. We've also actually added UDisks 2, which is a mounting and unmounting system capability that allows you to actually, without having to use sudo, mount and unmount archives, and as well as CDs and disks. We've also gone through and added W3M and W3M-image, which is essentially a terminal-based web browser. Other additions include Ranger, which is a terminal file manager and browser, which is basically number 2, and the second file manager and browser. With that's terminal-based. We've also added LibreOffice Writer, Impress, and Calc, and removed Abby Word and Gnumeric. At this point, I've also actually gotten an excellent little program that's called Menu Libre, which actually allows one to edit menu information so that you can add it and appropriately add it, go back and forth, and just make stuff work properly. On top of all of that, we've got some stuff like iDesk, which handles the icons on the desktop. We've got IRC server list added to the desktop, Xarchiver to manage archives, LeafPad to be a text editor, and WICD as the network manager. Initially, it was set to do GNOME network manager, but I decided to use WICD instead. Some fixes that I've gone through is actually consolidate the system to LTS Ubuntu version 14.04. So the Solos Revision 1 was 13.04 instead of 14.04. So by moving it over to 14.04, we no longer have a deprecated system, as well as we do have long-term support. So I also went through and actually consolidated theme management, which means that basically everything actually properly works for themes, and you can theme it appropriately without having issues. And I actually put some notes here saying that I changed to PECWM with XFCE panel, which means I removed XFWM 4. I think it's actually just XFWM, but basically I removed the XFCE window manager, and basically we just got a bunch of other little options and fixes and stuff like that here. One of the other bigger changes is that I changed the system's GPL licensing to GPL v2 rather than GPL v3. The first operating system is still going to maintain the GPL v3 licenseship, but any further desktops but ISOs, any further ISOs and operating systems I make will be under the GPL version 2 licensing. So, awesome sauce to that. Alright, well at this time, since you guys have seen the indications here for all that blah blah blah, let's go ahead and log into the system here. I'm going to type in EARTH. We're just going to let the system go through and load up its information here. And voila, we are back to the desktop. As you see, the standard welcome window menu pops up. It's also reflecting the appropriate change in licenseship, which means that it's all appropriately reflecting everything throughout the systems. You also can, I'm sure, tell that we have a different border design, which is pretty awesome, which is going to reflect the new window management system that I'm using. So let's go ahead and actually address that. There's nothing else that's new with the welcome screen, so I'm just going to go ahead and close it down. So basically we now have a right-click menu. So as you see, it says PECWM, which is actually the window manager. It gives you a couple of options by default, which is terminal, run, take screenshot, go to, and PECWM. If you go to PECWM, it gives you the option to go through reload, restart, and exit, and the themes option is what we're going to talk about. Basically you have a decent little selection of themes here, but the one that I've added to the system is Night, which is just a dark, nice dark blue kind of theme. But you do have all these other options available to you. Okay. Aside from the wonderful change of the desktop management, you may notice something new here, which is, ta-da, icons. So formerly my system did not have icons. I knew of this program, and this program that's managing the icons is called iDesk, and so I added iDesk to my operating system to manage icons on the desktop. Now I did actually a video reviewing this, or basically talking about my script that I made for this program, so there really isn't much for me to say about it besides just saying look to my video that I did in regards to iDesk. Now, aside from just the adding of iDesk to manage icons of the desktop, I'd just like to go ahead and mention the license as appropriately reflecting GPL version 2 info. Okay. As well as we actually have 2 additional files within the desktop directory, which is iDesk, and this is a script, and then the IRC server list, which is the list of server options that you can use for IRC. Now, because I use WeChat as my IRC server, you know, that it doesn't really come pre-configured with servers to go through and just automatically detect and connect one if you specify. So I've given you this list so that you can kind of do a search, you know, do Control F and then type whatever you're looking for to get that IRC server, just because I think it would be a little bit easier. Now, aside from that, iDesk, if you see this is my script that I've made. Yeah, well, there you go. This is the script I've made. I'm quite proud of this. Basically, the script handles, of course, the desktop icon making process. So basically it's pretty straightforward. You select one of the options, 1, 2, or 3, and of course if you want to exit you just press 4 and you know, go from there. Now just go ahead and give you an idea. It actually works in the live distro, which is awesome, so I'm going to go ahead and just do one for you very quickly here. I'm just going to do 1. I'm going to type in SMPLAYER 2. Do shift to make sure I can highlight it. Oh, that's making stuff look weird. Put 2 here. Oh, wow. I'm messing this up already. Okay. Oh, it's not going to allow me to highlight. That's why it's doing that. Fail. Anyway, give me a second to highlight this. It's going to be a little bit faster to do it that way. SM Player 2. SM Player 2. smplayer.xpm 32 32. X position is going to be 232. Y position is going to be 32. And press 1. Shift V to put smplayer2 as the link name. And then of course we're going to reload the desktop by right-clicking twice to get it to respond, and voila, we have smplayer2 icon on the desktop. We can double click on it and the system's going to launch the program smplayer2. So I kind of made it a little bit long just because I fumbled around with the naming of it, but basically it's a little bit nicer and straightforward. The biggest feature of this option is in fact actually the updating of the icons on the desktop by pressing 3. And what that does is basically it goes through, it detects on the desktop if you've added a new file or folder, and then from there actually allows the script to actually assist you in making those icons quickly and a little bit faster. So you just have to see it to believe it. I've done a video regarding that on YouTube as well, so just check it out there. So aside from that, let's go ahead and just discuss the theme management. Before I do that, I'd like to go ahead and point out that we are using a different menu, which is Whisker menu. Definitely a little bit nicer and fancier. I've also gone through, and if you can notice here, I've got the icon for the menu to be reflecting the appropriate icon for that. And in fact, if I can go ahead and just right click and show you, I'm going to click properties, and as you see, this is the Solos icon. It's one that I made, so it's now properly just, you know, kind of being themed and branded, which is awesome sauce for this OS. So aside from that, you know, aside from adding the icon and the different menu type, we've also gone through and I've made sure to consolidate all the options here to make sure they have appropriate icons and the options are appropriately ordered, so it's not like weirdly duplicate and all that. Now, going on to the settings here, I'll show you what I mean by theming here. If you go to select Customize Look and Feel, this is going to launch LX Appearance. As you guys may know, LX Appearance was in my initial distribution of version 1, but the issues were that it did not automatically apply it, and if it didn't automatically apply it, sometimes what it would do is kill XFWM and force you to re-log in. And even if it didn't kill XFWM, you'd still have to technically log out and then log back in for themes to actually technically apply, which was kind of a little bit annoying. By utilizing PECWM and LX Appearance, theme management has been simplified, as well as it's actually edited in live mode. So I can go ahead and select, for instance, Redmond, or I can go ahead and select really something a little bit nicer would be actually something to show you a very big difference, dark mint. So dark mint, as you see, gives this lovely dark mint application here. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on the menu, and as you see, dark mint has been applied thematically throughout the system. If I go ahead and launch my file manager here, it also appears appropriately in the systems. Now, aside from that, you can also now manage the icons real time. So instead of using, final order and then having to switch and then log out, you can just select elementary XFCE, click apply, and the system goes through and applies that theme throughout to the appropriate icons in the system. So definitely looks really nice. You can also go ahead and actually just edit it in real time, the widget coloring and all that, by doing dark looks and say just applying it here. Now, some windows don't automatically get appropriately applied window-wise. As you see, it's kind of still dark green, and here, if you just close it down and then reopen it, it does go through and just refresh the page. I think it's just part of the fact that it doesn't apply it quickly just because I am in a virtual box. So that's basically a demonstration of themes appropriately being applied. So I'm going to go ahead and just actually set it back to the defaults here. Aside from theme management, as well as license management and changes, I have gone through and added some differences in Office sections. So instead of using GNumeric and AbiWord, I have conceded and broken down and used LibreOffice, mainly because LibreOffice has the Impress option, which is essentially just editing presentation options. So that's why I actually went through and decided to use it, is because it does have the ability to allow you to make slides and stuff like that, and it's just kind of it's just all kind of in one option, so it just makes it a lot easier. Now, with that being said, it does then boost the size of the ISO disk. It used to be 695 megabytes in size, roughly, and now it's about 750 megabytes in size for the ISO, so it's no longer going to fit on a CD. Currently, I'm working on that. The revision 3 of this operating system should be a little bit more tinier and compressed. It just all depends on the programs and stuff that I find that I can use to replace several other options to kind of just minimize the size of this disk. Aside from all that, really there hasn't been much else that's changed. I've added some menu entries such as WeChat, so you can go ahead and quickly launch WeChat to do IRC chatting. I've also gone through and actually consolidated it such that GIMP will no longer open in those little separate window options where it gives you individual windowscapes. It actually opens it up in a single window mode. Some of you may not like this setting, some of you may like it. I preferentially prefer this than the latter, so I'm going to go ahead and just apply it to my operating system. If you want to change it back, all you do is click on Windows and, of course, select single window mode, which will go through and, of course, bring it back to this weird, ugly layout, which just honestly pisses the crap out of me, in all honesty. It really, really bugs me for some reason. But, aside from that, hey. So, and that really kind of completes it. Aside from that, let's go ahead and just give you some options here. I'm going to make a notification here. The nitrogen wallpaper I've added the nitrogen wallpaper menu entry, that way you don't have to type it in a terminal, so you can actually go ahead and click on that. I'd also like to mention, if you see options here like firewall and gparted, options like this have to run with a sudo command, and if you've guys have used my operating system before, you'll have noticed that these particular programs do not launch. And reason being for somehow the execution parameters are not properly set. So what happens is you click on it and it just doesn't do it. It doesn't do it in the live environment, nor does it apply throughout when you've installed it to your system. So I've gone through and edited it such that it will launch appropriately using the gksu command, and what it does is, of course, bring up an appropriate window that says, type in your password name, and it will actually appropriately now launch those programs. Same thing for actually the installer as well, so it makes it definitely a little bit easier to go through and just quickly install a system. And in fact, I'm trying to look for the installation protocol here. Yeah, here, install Solos 1404. So basically the same thing is applied to this as well, where you go through and type it in. I've also added a Midnight Commander file manager entry just so you can go through and quickly launch it, and it's just nice that way. One last thing I want to go through in terms of just discussing additions and changes here is the fact that I've actually added an entry called Ranger. As you may have known in the list I provided, Ranger is another terminal file browser. So in total, this operating system has 3 file managers or browsers. One is a graphical file manager and browser, and then the other 2 are terminal-based file managers and browsers. Ranger and Midnight Commander being those 2 terminal file managers. When you click on Ranger, it will go through and automatically launch Xterm. I've specifically designed it so that it will launch Xterm for a specific reason, being that, and I will give you, if I can just extend the size of this option here. Reason why I've done that is if I go ahead and show you, this particular terminal browser actually allows you to load up images directly within the terminal, which is one reason why I went through and added it to just Xterm. Another reason being that if you do commands and stuff like this from here, you can do some very interesting specific things that I'll talk about maybe later in a different video. So here's my pictures folder, and as you see, it's loading these individual pictures within the terminal itself, not bringing it up. So that's pretty nice. And that really kind of sums it up, honestly. Now, something I want to go ahead and mention here is with that image viewing capability within the Ranger file manager, I'm going to go ahead and do terminal emulator and just run Xterm, okay, and then tac E, and then w3m, and then www.google.com. Of course, I didn't really technically need to spell it out, but whatever. Anyway, one thing that's pretty cool about this is that W3Image is the device that actually handles imaging for or within the terminal. So I can go ahead and double click into here. I can type in a search. In fact, actually, I need to technically raise the mouse a little bit higher to specify within the search box. I can now type in something like sun pics, okay? And of course I can then click on Google, or I have to slightly above it, but anyway, when you actually have it built into the, when you download it and actually install it to your hard drive, you can actually click directly on the lettering. It's just weirdly set up in, VirtualBox, but it shows you images. So technically this is a web browser within the terminal as well. So I just want to go through and add that as well. So if those of you who sometimes, just want to rely on the terminal, you can definitely just surf the web this way and just enjoy it that way. Alright, is there anything else I want to mention? It's hard to say. I think I've actually pretty much covered all of it. I know what I'll do is I'll go ahead and do select all, nope, all, I'm going to go ahead and do recently used, I'll just do terminal emulator. So this, now you're thinking maybe with all these changes, what's occurred? Well, the system no longer runs at 130 megabytes of RAM. By default, it actually launches around 150 to 160 megabytes of RAM usage. Now, because I've been opening windows and closing stuff like that, and closing windows and stuff like that, it is going to just kind of hover around the 178 megabytes of RAM space. But still, aside from that, really, it's pretty darn decent, if I do say so myself, for usage and of the computer, especially with the additives that I've changed. Changing the theme manager, changing the window manager, changing the fact that we've got now icons on the desktop, changing some of the sizes and programs and stuff like that. It is a lot larger. I've also gone through and removed removed a program called XBindKeysRC, which used to do X binding. We now use the PECWM's window management bind keys system interface or whatever. So I can go through, and I actually locked the system actually on directly. I really hate trying to do key bindings through the system just because it doesn't want to work properly. But take my word for it, PECWM is now managing the bind keys. So for instance, you know, Windows L is going to lock the screen, Windows S is going to shut down the system, Windows R will reboot the system, and Windows T will launch the terminal. So I just wanted to add those few select key combinations to go through and run, you know, throughout the system. Now I do want to say that I still have a few more changes to make to this system, but basically this is complete. One of the changes is going to be that I'm going to change the wallpaper, default wallpaper to, and if I can find it here, I will find it. I just swear to God I saw it. Oh yeah, I'm going to change. Oh God, that's not it. I'm so sorry. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to find nitrogen, and I'm failing really terribly at the moment. So I am going to set the background to this. If I can apply it, I am going to set the background to the default as this now for this secondary revision. Okay. One other thing I'm going to mention is a few other changes I've made is once you've installed this to your hard disk directly, I've changed the settings such that you can now the grub menu is going to look a little bit different, which is pretty awesome. So the grub menu actually has now been designed to specifically look at a particular picture and display it on the grub menu background. So it's going to actually, I'll show you the picture that's going to be showing in the grub menu here, using, of course, the exact same thing here. Oh my goodness, I'm so terrible. I'm sorry. I keep on wanting to launch that because I'm just dumb. Anyway, the grub menu. There it is. That's what I want. Nitrogen. Jeez. The grub menu is going to reflect. And it's not showing it. I see. I wonder if I can apply it since it's not kind of giving you a preview. No, it's not going to apply it. The grub menu is going to change. Just take my word for it. Basically, aside from that as well, I've also changed the Plymouth theme. So no longer are you going to see the Ubuntu logo and all that when the system boots. It's going to actually show a sun pulsating and ejecting mass, I don't know, what is it, corona fields and all that, and it's just, it's a pretty cool Plymouth theme. It also has actually the appropriate display of my Solos logo as well as my Solos name, so it's going to show my name and icon within that Plymouth theme as well, so that's pretty cool as well. But aside from that, there are a couple of other changes I'm sure I haven't mentioned, but this really kind of covers it. This definitely, explains most of the changes and features that I have gone through and taken into effect. So I'm very excited for this version of Solos. I'm pretty proud of the changes. I've definitely consolidated a lot of issues, made it a lot better. Like I said, it's now running on 14.04 rather than deprecated 13.04. I've managed, to fix that theme management issues that's been bugging me. It's all around looking very nice. I still have a few tweaks like fixing that nitrogen wallpaper that's not displaying, but aside from that, there are just a few more tweaks I'm going to manage, but I'm pretty much done with this. And most of the tweaks I'm going to make are in the background that are not really going to directly affect you. It's just all personal, and I just want to make sure everything is looking good. Now, that being said, I will probably upload this ISO either today or tomorrow or soon. So you'll probably see it in the download link once I've posted this video. So it should be basically all, coming out when I post this video, just to make sure everything coincides appropriately. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, well, that basically covers it. I just want to go ahead and display my new revised version of Solos because, like I said, this is version 2. Basically, Solos 02.02, so we're pretty darn excited. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you for watching. Please rate, subscribe, tell me what you think, and I will talk to you guys later.